We all talk a big game about coming from the heart, but what does that actually mean? According to Howard Martin of the HeartMath Institute, it means that we're both learning to listen to the whisper of the heart and learning to come into a mental, emotional, and biological state of coherence, which feels much like peace. Not only does this coherence change the course of our lives, it may even change the course of the planet.
Big paradigms of the way the world's function are coming apart right now, and they're trying to be replaced by new. One of the ones you just mentioned is one. It's a huge paradigm, but it's like competition versus cooperation.
Yes.
You know, so even some of the struggles we may go through, like around resources, around the resources needed to take care of things, and they're going to force what? Cooperation. You know, we're not going to be able to fight our way through it and take it away from somebody else. I mean, who knows? There may be some of that happens, but ultimately, for this to work, it's going to have to be because we learn how to share. That's an example of cooperation replacing competition. Another sort of related one would be ambition. Ambition's not bad, hopes and dreams and all that, but this raw, unbridled, self-centric ambition of getting what you want and nothing stands in your way, a lot of the world has been built around that, and that's gotten us to a certain point. It hasn't been all bad. But in today's world, when I look at it, I don't see that working like it used to.
No. Every indicator in the headline news is it's not working too well right now.
It's not working too well. It's backfiring. You know, it's actually creating a 180-degree turn around what you wanted. It creates the opposite of that. And I see that, like you said, in the news, and I also see it in the lives of individuals and, you know, people that I know and people I observe and all that. It doesn't work the same way anymore. A big fundamental paradigm is coming undone.
Absolutely, and you can feel it in your heart and just in your heart energy. If you were having a thought right now about how I've got to beat this person out on that, it is a constricted, horrible, tight, closed feeling.
That's right.
That happens. So from just, I know that's really basic, but obviously we're moving away from that, and what you're doing is contributing greatly, I think.
Well, it's basic, Regina, but it's also seriously important. I mean, it's huge blocks of consciousness are changing. The way I've always seen it is there's this field of consciousness reflecting back to us, not just what we think in our minds, but especially what we're actually feeling in our hearts. And we draw from this consciousness. That creates certain psychologies, right? Psychologies create these sort of paradigms of what is and what isn't, what reality is, what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong, certain things like big is better, I mean, these are just, things that just sort of are embedded in mass consciousness. And that filters down into behavior, how we function, how we operate as human beings, and then into systems like government, finance, education, medicine, all those kind of things that are systematic of that, and ends up, here's what the world is. Well, as the field of consciousness begins to change, then those paradigms begin to change.
Right.
And the psychology begins to change, then the systems begin to change, then life on a day-to-day basis begins to change. And it feeds itself. As we change our lives, it feeds that field of consciousness. So it's a closed loop that's going on all the time, where consciousness is filtering down, we're feeding back to consciousness. The more heart-related choices we make individually, moment to moment, day to day, feeds that field. We encode that field with that information. The biggest service anybody can do, and I'll say this to anybody watching right now, regardless of the projects we do or whether, I'm involved personally with something like HeartMath, is even secondary to this. It's the moment-to-moment changes that we make during the course of our days and the amount of heart and care and love and heart-related things that we put out into that field that is the biggest service of all.
Which takes us directly into global coherence.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start. Launch in. How did you go from HeartMath into global coherence, and we'll go from there.
Well, let me briefly explain coherence. Coherence is a term getting used a lot now. It's they call it cardiac coherence sometimes, or coherence, and it's being used a lot. And of course, it'd be a natural progression for it to be used. And it's not a term that has never been used before, but a lot of that goes back to some of the ways that we characterized it. Now it's becoming more popular, and it's a good thing that it is. But coherence is a highly ordered state. It's efficient, it's effective, less energy is being wasted. We know how to measure it, and it's the state that we can measure is there's a medical term for it called psychophysiological coherence. What that means is that this physiological level, all the body systems are synchronizing to the master rhythm maker in our body, which happens to be the heart. So respiration, digestion, immune system response, hormonal balance, brain function, all those things begin to synchronize to the heart. And when the heart rhythms are smooth and ordered, it pulls them in so that they're all working harmoniously, cooperating, not competing. You know, they're
reducing friction and resistance.
Exactly, and so that's a very highly effective physiological state. In that state, everything from perceptual field to reaction speed time, a lot of things begin to line up and change. That's why military gets training from us in coherence building techniques. That's why Olympic athletes do, you know, because that coherent state is very perceptive, very aware, very acutely refined.
Like you say, efficient and quick, very responsive.
Correct.
Yeah. This interview is packed with insights about the connection between our heart and our head and the earth itself. For the full-length conversation, go to cmn.tv.